Hey pen people, Brian here. Let's talk about ink bottles today. This is something that I don't think I've ever seen a video on, ever. So of course I review fountain pen inks from time to time on my channel, as do a lot of other people, but I don't think we usually spend a lot of time talking about the bottle itself. Ink bottles are a lot different than a lot of other stationery packaging because rather than just taking the product out of the package, putting the packaging on the shelf, or throwing it away so that you can use the product that came inside of it, you kind of need that ink bottle or else you don't have ink. So it's very important. And even if you have a really nice ink, if you have a lousy bottle, it can really ruin the experience. So what I want to do today is show you all 23 different kinds of ink bottles I have. We'll talk about how good they look, how easy they are to use, and at the end, I will tell you what my absolute favorite ink bottle is. And like I said, I have 23 ink bottles, but that's really just kind of a sampling of everything that's out there. I have a lot of the common ones as well as some uncommon ones, but I know that there's a lot that I don't have. So if I miss an ink bottle that you really like, comment below and tell me what is it? What is the bottle that you think is really good? Or if there's a bottle that you just cannot stand, whether it's one that I mention or one that you have, let me know as well. I'd love to hear about that. I also want to give a big thanks to Sarah over at Fountain Pen Insanity for sending me a lot of her empty ink bottles, which is going to make this review much more comprehensive than it would be otherwise. So thank you, Sarah. Okay, in no particular order, let's dive in. First, let's start with, I've got Montblanc right here. I have two of them actually, very similar designs. This was my first bottle of fountain pen ink ever, so I guess it's fitting that we're doing this one first. It wasn't cheap, but it's quite nice, as you can see. It has this little weird bridge looking thing right here. And the point of that is as your ink gets low, you can tip it to the front and it will be deeper here and easier to fill. So a pretty ingenious little system there. It also looks really cool to have this like not completely flat bottom. Has these ridges on here, which are really pretty. The label is all right, nothing crazy, but it looks good. The cap I have had some problems with. As you can see here, some of the like chrome paint that bordered the cap has worn off from use, which is kind of dumb, I think, especially from such a big luxury company like Montblanc with such a name behind their stuff. But it's still a nice bottle. I guess there is also a crack in this cap. It hasn't leaked or anything, but that's still kind of meh. This one I have, it's very similar, but I think it's much older. I actually got this at a yard sale for like $1. Yeah, it's the same concept, but the cap feels a little more robust. And yeah, so these are really cool. And I've had these for a while. I think the bottles I've seen more recently online look a little different. So I don't know if these types are still around or not. But yeah, that's Montblanc. Let's see what we have next. Here is a Pelikan bottle from Sarah. So the label is okay. I think it's kind of odd though to have it take up the entire face of the bottle. Don't you want to be able to see the ink as well as the label? But that aside, the bottle is nice. It's a cool shape and it has a lot of stuff written out in the glass itself rather than just like a sticker like this or some other kind of stamp. So it's kind of cool to see lettering right in the glass. I like that. The cap is cool. It has the logo there, the Pelikan logo, and it's nothing too fancy, but it's functional and it feels durable. So it's a nice bottle. Okay, let's look at Lamy here. I have one of their standard bottles and I have one of their crystal ink lineup bottles. They're kind of luxury inks, I guess. They're a little more pricey and smaller. Let's look at this one first. So it has a fairly wide opening for how small it is, which is nice. It is quite small, and one problem I have with that is you start using up your ink and very quickly you start to run into problems dipping a nib into this thing. It'll work with a converter if you're just dipping a converter in there, but if you're wanting to put your whole nib in there, it becomes a challenge. And I found myself having to tip this to get anything out, or just using a syringe or something like that. I do like that the bottom is very thick with the glass. That gives it a very nice look. I also like that there's no stickers on here. It's just kind of like this, I don't really know how they do it, if it's lasers or what, but the labeling is directly on the glass, which is really cool. And then the cap is nice. It has supposedly the color of the ink in this band around here. My ink was a little different than this, but still cool to have that accent there. That's plastic. This is metal, a very thin, probably aluminum or something. I wasn't sure if it was metal or just metal looking plastic for a while, but I got another of these from an auction house and it was used. So it came kind of scuffed up and it was dented right here. So it's metal, thin metal, but it's metal. But durable, functional, just a little shallow, but it's pretty. I like it. Okay, yeah, so here's the standard Lamy ink bottle. Not as fancy by any means. The cap is much more just basic plastic, but it feels durable at the same time. It doesn't feel like it's going to crack on you, and mine certainly hasn't, although I haven't had this ink very long. And then you have this glass bottle up here that narrows down into this little bit here. So kind of a similar concept to Montblanc, where as your ink gets low, it goes into this narrower portion that allows you to get a full fill for longer, which is pretty cool. Now, one thing that's a little odd about this is it's got this plastic part that fits on there. I don't know if it comes off, probably not. Even if you did take it off, your bottle wouldn't be able to sit upright. So it's best just to leave this on here. But it's just this plastic part, which is not aesthetically the best, especially with this stuff hanging out. This is blotting paper. So it's got a roll of blotting paper in there. So after you fill your pen, you can use this to clean the nib. It might not have the most fancy feel to it, but it does feel artsy and practical and nice. It's a nice bottle. Let's look at another one that I have two of. So I've got two Monteverde ink bottles here, two different kinds. This is the kind I've used. I have a couple of these that I've used. This one came from Sarah. Actually, these both came from Sarah, but this one was new to me from Sarah. And what I love about this one is the design of it looks like something you would have seen on somebody's desk like 150 years ago. Like, not only does it look like a nice ink bottle, but it looks like a nice ink well that somebody would have used with a dip pen. So it's a classy design. I really like this one. The cap isn't anything too fancy, though it's pretty robust. It does feel nice and durable. So overall, it's a nice bottle. The labeling is meh. I don't really care for the labeling that much, but it's fine. So this is their smaller bottle, and this one actually has a metal lid. So nice and durable, it feels good, and it's interesting. These actually remind me of bottles of paint that I used to get as a kid to paint my model cars and airplanes and stuff. So there's something kind of nostalgic about this bottle for me. It's basic, it looks good, it's not like super fancy by any means, but it does the job. It's a good bottle. Okay, let's look at Diamine. Diamine something. This one, kind of like the larger Monteverde one, it has more of an inkwell feel to it, in my opinion. So really cool design. This one maybe even more so than the Monteverde one. So I really like this. It looks really classy and old-fashioned. I kind of wish the label was smaller, not taking up so much of this thing. And I wish the label was straight. I don't know what it is, but so many companies have a hard time with putting labels on straight. I don't understand. You make this fancy bottle and then you just put this random sticker on sideways or whatever. Oh well. The opening is a bit narrow. You can still fit most pens in there just fine, but it might get a little hard as the ink gets low to get everything down far enough to get a good fill. But lovely bottle, good cap, feels very durable, very classy. And yeah, I like it a lot. It's got that cool writing on the bottom. Let's look at Private Reserve. I've got a number of these, and these are interesting because they have a very wide opening, almost as wide as the bottle itself. Hello, fly, go away. This is not your video. I like how it has this thick glass on the bottom. That looks really cool. Crooked label again. I don't know, maybe I'm just picky. This cap, it's kind of awful, to be honest. And I actually had one of my bottles come with like a little bend in the cap and it leaked in transit a little bit. Not so that I lost a ton of ink, but just so it was a little bit of a mess and kind of annoying. And so not my favorite bottle. There is something to be said for how wide this is though. That makes it really nice for art projects. If you're going to be using brushes and different things like that, this can be really handy. But I hate this lid. And even now it kind of looks lopsided, like it's sitting on this side better than it is on this side. It's not leaking, but I worry about it still. All right, let's look at Robert Oster. This one surprised me when I got it from Sarah because it is plastic. It is a plastic bottle. I'm just used to glass. I thought they were all glass, but apparently not. There's actually another one that Sarah sent me that is plastic, and that one surprised me even more that it was plastic. We'll talk about that one in a second. So this one's very tall, very narrow. The cap feels cheap, but plastic on plastic, it feels like it gets a good seal. Doesn't feel like anything's gonna crack from over tightening or anything like that. Pretty narrow, but I think you can get most pens in there okay. And even though it's narrow, I feel like that can kind of help you to get a full fill for longer as you run out of your ink. And I think even though it's plastic, it looks nice, it looks clean. The label is probably one of the better ones I've seen. It looks really sharp. And then they've got this little label on the top. So I think it's nice. All right, let's look at the other plastic one while it's on my mind. And this one really shocked me, again, that it was plastic. This is Visconti. With such a luxury brand, you would think that they would have luxury materials for their ink bottles, but it's just plastic. So I don't actually have any Visconti products other than this, but just from their reputation as kind of this luxury brand that sells pens that are well above $100. Anyway, it has a cool look. I'll give it that. It's got this case that it comes in, which I don't know, I guess it's cool. I don't really love it, but it's cool, I guess. It has a little stand, which might be nice because I think it's pretty tippy. It doesn't have much surface area down there, and it's kind of curved on the edges, so it has even less surface area. And because it's plastic, there's not a lot of weight to it, so I feel like this is an extreme tipping hazard. I do like the narrower bit though, because again, it'll help you get a full fill when you start running out. The cap is cool. I do like the cap. It's got this interesting green with black dots, highlights, accents in it. Really interesting color there. And it's an interesting shape, but I don't really care for it. It even has like pretty hefty mold injection lines going all the way up and down it. So, meh. I'm still glad you sent it to me, Sarah. I'm underwhelmed based on my expectations, I guess. Okay, let's talk about Noodlers. Wait, not that one. This one. Back when I first got into fountain pens, apparently Noodlers was going through some kind of a supplier crisis. They couldn't get the bottles they wanted, so they started using like plastic pill bottles for a while. So one of my first Noodlers inks came in that, and you don't have to worry about that, so we're not going to talk about it. This is what you get from Noodlers. I've been using these a long time, so I'm used to them. I like them. It's big, it's nice and tall. It's basic. It's nothing too fancy, but it does the job. The labeling, I don't know how to feel about it. On one hand, it's fun to have these like hand-done drawings, paintings, whatever as the label, but they also look kind of amateur, so I don't really know what to think. But it's fun, it's part of the brand, it's part of Noodlers, so I don't know, it's just their identity. And one thing that's fun, I don't know if you can see this, I'll try to get a good B-roll shot of it, but as I started using this ink, I realized, oh my gosh, there's something on the other side of this label. They put like an ad for one of their pens on the inside. So as you use your ink, you start to reveal this ad for a pen, which is kind of hilarious and ingenious and fun, and I like that. The cap is not anything crazy, it's pretty basic, and in fact, it's kind of like the little brother of this one. I've had these leak on me a little bit sometimes, so not the greatest cap by any means. The bottle, it's good. Cap, meh. I haven't had too many problems, but there's one bottle where the cap is a little misshapen and it's not great. Here's an interesting one. This is Birmingham Pen Co. And so this is a eyedropper bottle. So if you're gonna be eyedroppering your pens, then this will work well for you. For filling normal fountain pens, probably not so great. You'll probably want to use a syringe or just eyedropper, obviously. Although that might get a little messy if you're trying to stick it in a converter. I don't know. I haven't tried it. Anyway, it looks good though. I like this bottle. It gives me kind of an old like drugstore apothecary kind of feel. The label is really nice. It's got this matte look to it. It feels like textured paper rather than just like a plastic laminated thing. So that's nice, and it actually looks really good. I think they did a good job with this label. So good job, Birmingham. Okay, De Atramentis. The label on this one is maybe a little bit amateurish in my opinion. It's fun though. I like having Edgar Allan Poe's face on there, I guess. This bottle is really interesting. I like the look of it, how it's got these wide parts at the top and bottom. It's got a nice cap on there, very durable feeling. So no complaints really. I think this is a good bottle. Okay, let's talk about Rohrer and Klingner. Klingner? I'm sorry. This is an interesting one. I like this one a lot. It has a metal cap. I like metal caps. They just feel more robust and more reliable sometimes. So it feels like it seals very well. Nothing's gonna break on you. This glass is really nice. It has kind of this dark brownish tint to it, which makes me think of like old-fashioned glass that I've, found on the beach or whatever, So it has a really cool look to it, the glass does. The labeling is nice. It looks very clean and well put together. My only beef with it, and maybe with the color of the glass as well, is you can't really see the ink inside, like at all. So that's a little bit interesting. But it's a nice bottle. I think this is a really cool bottle. But visibility is kind of an issue. All right, let's talk about this one. So this is one of my favorite fountain pen inks, actually, as well as one of my favorite bottles. This is the Pilot Iroshizuku bottle. Pilot has other bottles. I haven't tried those. So this is kind of their fancy luxury one, and it is fancy. Look at all this solid glass at the bottom here. It's really nice because it makes it very weighty. One thing that I don't care for about this bottle is that it's very narrow, so it feels like it's gonna tip on you, but it really doesn't because it's so bottom weighted. So it's pretty stable despite being narrow. So it's got a pretty nice label on there. Pretty straight, which is nice. It's got this little string for no reason, other than it looks cool. So, and I think it does look cool. I like it. The cap is nice. It's plastic, but it feels robust, and I haven't had any issues with it. And you can see here, it's got this little point down at the bottom where the ink flows down. Similar concept to this, where you can fill your fountain pen when you get even way down there. So that's really nice. I think this one probably does the best job as far as what happens to your experience when you get low. So I think they really did a nice job on this, and it just looks cool. That shape within the glass, how it tapers down here, points here and comes back. That's just really cool. My only other complaint about this bottle, other than the narrowness, is that it almost looks more like some kind of perfume or cologne kind of bottle rather than an ink bottle. And actually, when I showed it to my dad, who's kind of also into fountain pens and stuff, he made some joke about putting some on his neck or something. So that's immediately what he thought of, and I've thought of that as well. So I wish it was a little bit more distinguished as this is an ink bottle, not something else. But I still really do like it a lot. On that note, I should come back to this one. One thing I don't like about the Private Reserve one is I feel like they didn't actually design an ink bottle. They just went to some factory and they're like, hey, you make a lotion bottle, we could use that, or something. It feels more hygienic or cosmetic or something than it does ink. So I don't know. Okay, up next, let's look at this little guy. I really like this bottle a lot. I think it's really fun. So this is an Anderillium sample bottle. They have a bigger bottle. I don't have their bigger ones, but this is what their little samples are. They are 1/2 ounce bottles. So a pretty generous sample. You can use this for quite a while. I really like it. It feels really solid, even though it's small. The cap is really solid. It reminds me a little bit of this one. So it's really nice. And it's got this really weird sealing mechanism in there, like this plastic cone. And I don't fully understand what the purpose of that is, but whatever it is, it does a good job at sealing the bottle. So nice little bottle there. Speaking of little, let's look at the littlest one. This is tiny. This is so little. This is Colorverse, and it's a cool shape. The cap feels nice. It's got a nice little rubber seal in there. It's a cool looking bottle. The label is nice. It's got like this indent in the glass for the label to go there. So really cool design overall, but it has one major, massive issue. That little opening. I can't even stick my pinky in there, let alone a pen. How am I supposed to fill a pen? You're gonna have to use a syringe or just stick your converter in there. Maybe that's what they intended. I don't know, but it's ridiculously small. Other than that, this is a really cool bottle. All right, now let's talk about Herbin. Hopefully I'm saying that somewhat correct. It's got this strange little square squat look to it, which is kind of nice. If you have, like I have this box that sits on my desk and it has a little ink compartment as well as a tray for fountain pens, and hardly any inks will fit in there. This will fit in there, and I believe this will fit in there. I think this is the perfect shape for it. Nice lid, feels very sturdy. You can kind of hear that sound. I don't know, like, is it metal or is it just a nice plastic? I can't really tell, actually, but it feels very robust. The design is kind of quirky to look at, but I like it. And it's got this groove right here, which I guess you could stick your pen on. Or maybe you put your cap there while you're filling the pen or the barrel or something. I don't know, but it's like a little pen rest on your bottle, which is kind of cool. It also has that cool lettering on the bottom, J. Herbin Paris. I like that. So yeah, cool bottle. All right, let's talk about this one. And I'm gonna slaughter the pronunciation. Sorry. Papier Plume? No idea. But interesting little bottle. I like the shape of it. It's very cute. It's got this quite large label on it. Looks fairly homemade. But it's nice. It's got a metal cap, which is cool. And it has this wax seal on top, which is real. It's not just like some fake plastic thing. It's a real wax seal that they put on there. And it really dribbled down. And yeah, so that's kind of an interesting look. I don't know why you'd put a wax seal on top of a bottle. Like in my mind, I'm just very literal about things. So I'm like, back in the day, 300 years ago, did they put seals on top? Did that have a purpose? Is this harkening back to some kind of purpose? Regardless, it looks cool. There's some kind of like coat of arms looking thing. I forget what this is called, but yeah, fancy looking little thing there. The dribbling ink kind of makes it hard to open because it gets in the way of your fingers holding the bottle. But it's not a huge issue and it looks cool. It's a nice one. Let's look at this one. This is, I'm gonna show you the top first, Otto Hutt. And this is Black Knight Dark Chocolate. It's a scented ink, but we're not here to talk about the ink. Why am I talking about the ink? Anyway, here's what the labeling on the front looks like. Because they tried to be cool like Lamy and like put the labeling right on the bottle itself, which I appreciate. I think that's a really good move. But they didn't do a good job of it because as I've held the bottle to open this cap, it just starts to smudge and smear and it's completely illegible now. I don't know if you've ever seen text in an AI image. It will just like create random smeary characters and stuff. This looks like AI did it, but it was my hand. Anyway, it's got this really interesting cap that sits almost flush with the bottle itself and then curves around. So the look of it is really interesting. It's kind of cool, kind of different. And it's a pretty sturdy cap, no problems there. So it's a nice little bottle. Some concerns about the labeling. All right, one more, and this one is interesting. This one is a Sheaffer Skrip ink, and I have no idea how old this is. Got this at a yard sale. Same time I got this one, this Montblanc one. This looks and feels extremely old. When I tried looking it up online, it was, I can't even remember, but decades and decades old. The ink still works. I don't know if it works quite as well as it used to. It seems like it takes forever to dry, but this is a really interesting bottle. This is a cool cool bottle. Maybe not the classiest looking. It's definitely more of a practical look, I guess, to it. Do you see that glass in there? That's what's cool. I'm gonna show you that in a second. It's got a metal cap, which comes off. And then this, I'll have to do some B-roll to really show you, but it's got a little like wall of glass on the side. And basically what you do, gotta make sure my cap is on tight here. Okay, you shake up your ink, you dump it like this, and then it fills this little cavity created by this wall. So that again, like some of these other ones, you can get a nice fill even if you don't have that much ink. So that's really cool. I have no idea if these are still around. I have no idea, like you could probably get them on eBay or something. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting one, a pretty unique one in my collection. So what is my favorite bottle? There are a lot of really good ones. I don't even know. So I'm just gonna pull out 3 and just say like, these are my top 3. So this one, and this one's easy. I really do like this bottle. Despite the things that I don't quite like about it, I think there's a lot of intention and beauty to this bottle. It's really nice. It's not the cheapest, but I think it's worth having one of these in your collection. And all of the inks that I've tried from them have been really good. So I think you could just pick a color you like and go for it. So that's number 1. This is hard, actually. This one is not one that I would have thought would be one of my favorites, because I looked at this like for years on different pen websites and just thought it was the ugliest thing. But now that I have one, I really do like the Lamy ink bottle. It's a nice little bottle. It's very, very useful, very easy to use, very handy. So, and I don't mind the look of it as much as I used to. I think it's kind of nice. All right, as a third place, I'm gonna go with this Diamine bottle. It just has such a classy, old school look to it. I really, really like that look. It's pretty awesome. Like, not just as something to hold ink, but as something to like sit on your desk. It just looks really nice. So, those are my thoughts on 23 ink bottles. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know what you think about ink bottles. Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? Whether they're the ones I talked about or ones that you have tried. And if you want to see more videos about fountain pen ink, you can click on this playlist here and it will take you to all of the fountain pen ink reviews that I've made. Talk to you later.